I'm here with the one-time former world champion pro Pong player, also former pro Blades of Steel world champion. He is playing Teamfight Tactics for the first time, and he's the winner of not one, but actually 2 major awards. This is Blades of Pong on Legendary Tactics. Now, I understand you don't like your name to be known. What should I call you for this?
You can call me Cackas.
Cackas, okay. All right, Cackas, so you are the former world champion. When was the championship? Pong was released in 1972. I'm trying to remember when that championship was played.
Well, it didn't come out right away because, of course, Pong took a little bit of time to sort of gain some notoriety. But it was shortly thereafter, in 1982, that I actually took the crown.
Wow. Okay. Now I'm going to try not to distract you too much through this, but
yes. I've been watching many professionals and learning this craft, and I plan on dominating, to be honest with you.
Well, you're a very high-level gamer, so tell me, what does it take to make a champion?
A number of things: grit, determination, skill. You've got to have mad skill, of course, and with those things, you will find success.
Okay. So guiding principles is you try Teamfight Tactics for the first time. Arguably, this game is slightly more refined than Pong. What are you trying to apply from your Pong days to this game?
Well, Pong and TFT are actually very similar in a lot of ways. The fight goes back and forth, just as the ball goes back and forth in Pong. And what you're trying to do, basically, is outlast your opponent. And as you can see there, I had no problem outlasting my opponent. So it's quite similar.
There was a little bit of mystery. At the start of the video, we showed that famous scene of the iconic scene of you running through the wheat field with the trophy in hand, just cheering. I wasn't sure if that was at dawn or sunset. But just tell me about that moment. How did that feel, and why did you run through that field of wheat?
Well, that field of wheat kind of just symbolized my the epic battle that I went through to find success and to really solidify my win as a Pong champion.
So we actually
it's almost
have
like that ball
right
traveling. Sorry?
This is actual footage from your World Championship game.
Yeah.
I seem to remember.
I remember that moment. Oh yeah, down 3-6. I completely remember that moment. And you know what? He thought he had me on the ropes, and then I really just kind of upped the ante. And even he had me down further. Didn't even matter, because I knew in my heart, I just kind of envisioned that wheat field, and I knew just calm the body, calm the nerves, and that's where the momentum switched.
You really whizzed it by him on that last one, I noticed there. But I remember at this stage too, you had a problem. It looked there was something on your face, and I think later I found out there was like a hairball entwined in your Pong paddle or something.
Well, it did kind of jam me up a little bit, so that's kind of a problem that I did encounter. I overcame, though, and that's part of that grit and determination I talked about earlier. You need to have grit and determination in Pong, and we can't forget TFT either. Like, that's what I'm kind of going for now. That's my new kind of benchmark here. I'm
very
pushing.
Unusual strategy you have here. I mean, the Pong game is very frenetic, but what's your approach to TFT?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I have been actually doing a little bit of my own research, and I have looked up some of the quote-unquote masters of TFT, names like Disguised Toast, or Skara, or even Polt. And so these are some of the world-class players that you probably know. And
you'll probably be facing them soon, I imagine.
Oh, you know what? It's just a matter of time. Just as in Pong, as in Blades, it's just time is their enemy at this point, because they are going to be facing defeat soon enough.
Now, some of those players would suggest that you should go for synergies, and I notice you seem to be trying very hard to avoid synergies. You have absolutely no synergy on your team.
No. Well, see, that's
why are you doing this?
Well, because what you're going for, I kind of used my Blades of Steel here. I went for similar characters because what you're going to think about here is that those characters are like your team. And you want characters with the same jerseys on so you know who is on your team. The other team, I almost had to laugh at them because they're actually going for different looking characters. How will the teammates know who's on their team?
That's
so
a
I
fair
thought,
point.
Yeah, and I thought, you know what, and line them up so that their teammates know who are on their team. And I went with, now if you notice that one has the flighty wings on it, I really liked, I believe his name is Darius. He is going, and we actually are going in a bit of a eagle formation now.
Wings. Now I think that might be his mace.
That is the mace, yes. And look at him chomp there. Okay, so he is just, he knows he's got the wings of flight.
Wow.
And
You just won.
He just, well, please. Of course I won.
You are bottom of the server. Well, actually, not even bottom of the server now on your very first game.
This is my first game, to be honest, and I'm trying a few different hockey formations. This is called the right-hand blitz, and
Yes.
I highly recommend it because what you're going to do is you're going to blitz the right-hand side. The opponents who foolishly spread their people out will have no idea the right-hand blitz is coming at them, and well, you're going to see by these monsters they were caught unawares, and I am completely schooling them.
You're making short work of them.
Now, one thing I want to mention to you that's very, very important here is the use of your weapons. You're going to notice that I have a beautiful blue vest on the man with the shield. I added another vest to him.
Yes, the Bramble vest. I see that. That is.
What you want to do is you actually want to make sure you pair the weapons up with their mate. That makes them much more powerful and offensively minded, usually, sometimes defensively. It just depends on that particular weapon, but I have learned from these masters like this guy's Toast and Polt that these guys, now that was just a bit of a one-off. But normally those weapons are going to really, really pair beautifully together and help you dominate.
So I see, I'm just looking at the top of the leaderboard here, this character Flash Thompson 6. How do you plan to take someone like that down who's at 93 health still while you're at a lowly 65?
Okay, so you know what? It's all about deception. And I wish I could give you more, but I know that deception is a big part of this game. Letting your opponent and all the pros talk about it, okay? Letting yourself drop a little, that's fine. So Flash Thompson, maybe a little ego has gotten into his head here, and he thinks he's going to win everything. But he's not. He's just not going to win it. Now I'm going to try a new formation. This is called the 5 and die. Okay, because I create what's the number 5, what you would see on a dice, and it's going to kill whoever comes my way.
Flash Thompson. Okay,
so here's Flash Thompson. He's about to place my 5 and die, and I'm going to make pretty short work of him here, because the 5 and die takes no prisoners.
You just completely messed him up.
The 5 and die. So the 5 and die, and I'm so glad that you've added in a little visual. There to my blades of steel victories.
So you recognize this game, I'm sure, this is from 1988 actually, the World Championship. You were
6 years later,
the Toronto Maple Leafs against the Montreal Canadiens.
And just like and you know what? I used a similar strategy of the 5 and die actually in this. I stacked guys. I was always trying to stack my team. So a beautiful save there. I'm sorry.
Must be very different. I mean, you went from using a paddle and a joypad to a Nintendo controller. Now you're using, what are you using for TFT?
Oh, I definitely use the keyboard. You have to use the keyboard. It just gives you just that kind of that feel of the Nintendo, kind of coupled beautifully with the paddle of the Atari. And a beautiful blend really kind of lends itself to this kind of domination that I saw with Pong, and to be honest with you, with Blades of Steel.
And I see you also dominating in the intermission there too. That was a classic. You were really scrappy.
I love that part. Yeah.
So I also want to ask you about what you've been doing with your time since, I mean, first you won PONG, then you won Blades of Steel. How did you spend your winnings, and where were you living? Like, what have you been up? I know you're notoriously secret with this.
Yeah, I don't like to disclose too much of that information. But since you caught me here, and you kind of caught me a little red-handed, I'm blushing right now a little bit. But I will tell you that I invested in many different arcade systems, just trying to find that right fit for me. Oh, there you can see again the 5 and die just took it home again. I'm sorry. You know, anytime I hit victory, I get a little.
Well, get ready for it, because your victory shootout, the famous, that top right corner, you just nailed that. That goalie went low, you went high.
It was a beautiful misdirect, and
your heart must have been pounding.
You know what? I could feel the beads of sweat trickling down my face. I was really nervous, and he was a really good opponent, but in the end, you know what? Complete victory for me. So that was just skill. It was skill over over everything else. Just like like this game of TFT.
Tell me about that trophy. I mean, it looks like plastic to me there, but what material is that was made out of?
Oh, that is solid bronze. That is a solid bronze. Yeah, that's a solid bronze trophy with a silver lining. And the silver lining is important to always remember that the loser that I beat would feel that silver lining of being second place. And so it often reminded me of how that loser felt and what it would feel like to be a loser, but not because I had the trophy.
Well, I have to confess I'm a little bit shocked. You are still in last place here. I've heard rumors about your phenomenal gameplay, and I'm just not seeing you live up to it. But I understand that esports can take a toll on the body. Have you had any lingering effects from your PONG Blades of Steel days that maybe are affecting your performance here?
Great question, Flash. You know what? The PONG days, the paddle, it was easier, I found. But you're absolutely right. Now, if you notice, now I have actually bolstered up 2 different characters at, I think, 2-star. They both have a 2-star on them, and that is very strong. And now you're noticing I'm going with the flying V formation. I'm sorry, I just had to point that out because it's a very important. If you ever watch, there's a movie called The Mighty Ducks, and I learned a lot from them for my Blades of Steel fighting, that the flying V is extremely powerful. And so I did a reverse V to try and fool the opponents, because they would expect the flying V, of course, in the opposite direction. As far as my injuries, oh man, I tell you, if I had a list of all my chiropractic and my massage therapy bills after playing the Blades of Steel tournament, my hands were completely arthritic. And it took a lot of rehab and therapy. Oh, it was really, thank you. It was really bad, but after much conditioning, I was able to actually put them back on a keyboard in what you would call a normal way. So that was, those were sort of my dark days.
Bit of a wake-up call for you.
Yeah, I knew that I couldn't do it all.
Well, where do you see yourself in 20 years? 20 years down the road, will you still be playing video games?
Oh, you know what? I was born a video gamer. In fact, my parents tell me one of the first things I held was a joystick. And so I knew from that moment that video games, when they told me that, and it was already it was a love affair. And from that moment, my life would be dedicated. I think I'm going to be a 90-year-old man playing some kind of version of TFT or PONG or Blades of Steel, and maybe even showing the younger generations how it's done. Right now, I'm doing the straight line. I'm trying a straight line approach here. Of course, matching up my 2 red guys, Darius in the middle.
This could be it for you. This is not looking good.
Well, you know what? This is a very common play for the pros. They start and they drop, but then they start the comeback. Oh, okay.
That'll
Well,
be challenging for you now. Now, okay, I got one last question for you here. What do you say to people who think you're just too old, slow, and frankly untalented, unidimensional, unmotivated, and simple-minded to play at this level of competition in this era of gaming? What do you say to those people?
to those people, I say, watch the highlights of 1982. Watch the rerun of 1988. Okay, and I say to them that they can suck it. All right, because you know what? Frankly, I got more in my little baby pinker that still works than they will ever have in any bone in their body. And quite frankly, even though I finished 8th this game, there's a lot more for me to show the world in TFT. And I fully plan on playing this game nonstop until I actually achieve complete and utter victory. See what you're seeing in front of the screen there? See that victory scene? That scene will be me. Okay, that's going to be me in about 2 months, okay? So I think I'm kind of done
I'll have to
here.
cut you off there. This is Legendary Tactics. Like and subscribe if you want more interviews
This is
with
nonsense.
the world champion.
This is ridiculous.